Mayor Jim Watson has joined us here this morning after last night's provincial election result. Good morning to you, sir. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. What did you think of the results from last night? You've been involved in provincial politics yourself. You know what it's all about.
Yeah, listen, it was a bit of a nail-biter all night, going back and forth between majority and minority, and obviously the Premier you turned it around because, you know, about a month and a half ago, a lot of people were writing him off, but he worked hard. I think the thing about Dalton McGuinty, love him or hate him, he's steady. You know, it's never up, never down, never panicking, and I think that was what people wanted. We're going into rough economic times. You don't want gimmicks, you don't want untested leaders, you want some experience and stability at the helm.
Although a message was sent when you subtract a dozen or so seats, that's not a good thing to have happen.
No question about that, and I think, you know, anyone would prefer to have a majority government, that goes without saying. But the good thing from the City of Ottawa's point of view is we've got a good, strong contingent of MPPs, both Conservative and
there is a good mix in this area, isn't there?
Yeah, and you know, there's some experience. You know, people like Bob Shirley and Madeleine Mayer and Yasser and Phil, they have government experience. You've got Lisa MacLeod, who's an experienced opposition member. Jack McLaren is a new member, obviously, representing the Canada area. And there's a new member from Cornwall. So you've got some new, some experienced, and both parties are represented. There's no New Democrats in Eastern Ontario, but you know, the fact of the matter is, I think the public sent a number of messages. They didn't like the negativity of the opposition ads. They wanted to, I suppose, send the Liberals a message. They weren't happy about some of their policies.
Right.
And we've got this wonderful Canadian compromise that we're going to have to deal with for the next couple of years. My hope is that everyone works hard at getting together, because no one wants another election.
No.
You know, I think if the opposition try to pull the plug before 2 years, they'll pay the price, because people have been electioned out in Ontario.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. I think that's one of the reasons, one of many, but one of the reasons why we see voter turnout at less than 50%, although we were above that mark here in the Ottawa area, which is good news. But that's going to be disappointing. There was more interest, Jim, let's face it, in the municipal election that you won recently. There was better voter turnout. It just seems that nobody really wants to take the time to go vote in a provincial election, and you may be right. It may be just too many elections in too short a time.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you look back, within a year period, we've had 3 elections. You know, the municipal one last October, and then this one this October, and then the federal one.
Yeah.
So, you know, people are election out, but that's no excuse. Look at, you know, my father served overseas in World War II fighting for our right to vote. We've got to do a better job. You know, maybe I should be working harder and going in to visit schools and telling them the importance of getting out and voting. I'd imagine the numbers are pretty bad for young people. They don't connect with.
I wonder if they see it as the privilege that it is. You know, that's the question.
I don't think they do in some ways. They're, you know, I find in election campaigns, you got to work harder to get more young people involved in elections. A lot of them come out because they're working towards their 40 hours, but we need to get them coming out to work for that 41st hour, not just because it's mandatory, but because it's important.
Last night's result, does it have any impact on the City of Ottawa and its relationship with the provincial government? Because it's important.
It is. Well, the good news is, you may recall we talked about this whole issue of uploading. Why should social services be paid for by property taxpayers, welfare, things like that? Both the Premier and Ms. Horwath agreed with our position that we should continue with the upload agreement. That's good news for our taxpayers, because we would be out about $41 million if the deal didn't go through.
This last question. You've been in provincial politics. You've been a member of Dalton McGuinty's cabinet in Queen's Park. Does that give Ottawa, the City of Ottawa, now that you're mayor, an advantage because you have that established relationship, do you think?
Well, I think it's more the fact the Premier's from here. You know, a lot of people underestimate having the Premier as one of our MPPs. It does make a difference, and, you know, I can speak to the Premier, and we can, we know each other, but we also understand the city. You know, he lives in Ottawa, his family was raised here, and that makes a big difference. You don't have to go through sort of a history lesson of why are we going ahead with this light rail, or what's the problem with the Ottawa River cleanup. So he understands Ottawa, he understands Eastern Ontario, and we've got, as I said, the MPPs from the governing side. You know, a lot of municipal experience. Bob Shirley's the former mayor, Madeleine's the former regional councillor, Phil's the former city councillor. That makes a world of difference. Yasser knows the downtown like no one else.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks for your time today. Good to see you.
It's my pleasure.
Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah, have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Mayor Jim Watson joining us this morning. Back we go to the Cornwall area where Sarah is checking out some Thai food this morning.